Well, yeah, look, I think you're absolutely right about that because obviously that money, there's a lot of organization, and we all saw tents that looked very similar, like they were ordered all in a big truckload. But, you know, these kids who are protesting, they don't just show up at university and decide, oh, okay, I'm going to hate Israel today because that's a cool thing to do, or hate America or whatever. What also needs to be done about the general leftist bent of education before those kids get to university? I mean, I would imagine that in America, it's probably a lot like Australia. They're getting pumped full of a lot of left-wing indoctrination by teachers and the school systems and the curricula before they even show up. Would I be wrong about that?
You're exactly right, and that's why there are certain states like Florida, which is a shining example, that's getting rid of this CRT and all of this garbage at the younger years before people even get to college. Because you're right, you know, by the time that these people get to college, they've already been indoctrinated for 5, 10 years plus at this point. It's starting younger and younger. So that's important. But I also think the conservative movement, the Republican Party, concerned parents, they've let this go on too far. You know, a lot of parents, they sit back and they know that there are things going on within their school districts and they feel like they're powerless to change it, or maybe they just don't have the gumption to change it. But I'll tell you this, the leftists, the Marxists, the communists, they are getting active, and they're getting active at every level of government, every local level, every city council, every school board. They are methodically and systematically taking over because they have the organization, and unfortunately, they have the will to do it. So a lot of conservatives sit back and they say, oh, maybe I can put my kid in homeschooling, or maybe I can send him to a private school, or maybe a good Christian college. Well, those options are going to be more and more limited if you don't get involved at a young age. Parents, this is going to be largely up to you. I know that that doesn't sound like a fun explanation, or it doesn't sound like a fun idea, but unfortunately, the left is getting involved, so you better keep up.
Tomi, you're absolutely right about that, and I think this goes to the heart of the problem conservatives have sometimes, is that they're not sort of wired to organize the way the left is. The left is all about organization, whereas the right is about the individual, and that's the problem. But there was this great story I did see here, and this did kind of give me hope. The head of Shiraz University in Iran, no, it's not a winemaking college, but is instead apparently internationally renowned, who knew, has expressed readiness to grant scholarships to any students who are expelled for pro-Palestine demonstrations in the U.S. and Europe. Tomi, I don't know about you, but I'd kick in for one-way tickets for a bunch of these kids. What do you reckon? Should we ship them all off to Iran, see how they like the rooftop bar situation there?
Yeah, I'll tell you, a lot of these individuals are the same individuals that turn out for, events for LGBTQ inclusion and all that. It's really the same group of people by and large. So I don't think that they would like what they saw if they went to Iran, if they actually went to Gaza, if they actually had to experience the plight of those nations and how those nations treat people that are like them or believe what they believe. But let's be honest here. A lot of these people are not actually concerned about Palestinians or the plight of those in Gaza. If they were, they would be organizing to get, resources and amenities together to send to those people that are apparently struggling. But they're not. They're sitting there demanding their universities divest from Israel. But beyond that, at UCLA, they're demanding batteries, vegan and gluten-free food, lotion, sunscreen. I mean, you name it. Some even demanding the Green New Deal to be passed. These are, by and large, misfits of society. I'll tell you that.
And Tomi, I think they'd also be calling for Hamas to surrender. But all is not lost with the American youth, because there was a great also story that came out of the University of Carolina where these frat boys are being hailed as heroes for protecting their campus's U.S. flag from a group of wild anti-Israel, America-hating, Jew-hating protesters. So far, a GoFundMe page has raised nearly $500,000 US to throw them a raging party. Does this show that there's a silent majority out there that not only just, hates all this nonsense, but also wants to see these great kids have a great time?
Listen, if you would have told the mainstream media in America maybe 2-3 years ago that it was going to be frat boys that are going to be the picture of good Samaritans and those that are defending American values, most people probably would have laughed at you, but that's the case. And you know what? They will tell you that these are, toxic masculinity examples of them standing there with the flag, young white men. Oh, the horror. We were told time and time again that that's our biggest threat in America is the straight white male. Well, the straight white males look like the sane ones on college campuses. So maybe if that's toxic masculinity, let's get some more of it.
Finally, Tommy, I just got to ask you about this story, which has been making waves around the country. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has hit back at critics, and this is a bit of a weird story, folks, if you're not familiar with this, over the fact that her upcoming memoir reveals she once shot a dog that she had tried to train but wasn't able to train, apparently. Now, Tommy, I think you used to work for her. Is that correct? And what is your take on this bizarre story?
So I am born and raised in South Dakota. My whole family still lives in South Dakota. And I was, in fact, one of her very first interns when she was a member of the lone representative from South Dakota in the House. So I know Kristi Noem well. South Dakota knows Kristi Noem well. So for all those out there, national, international audience, please don't think that people born and raised in South Dakota think it's okay to shoot a 14-month-old dog for being a bad hunter or possibly killing a neighbor's chickens. That is not endorsed by the people of South Dakota. That's not how rural and American ranchers and farmers live our lives. Don't be fooled by this. I am disgusted and I am thoroughly embarrassed.